Hello, first grade families. I hope you are all doing well this evening. I am going to do our curriculum night slideshow. If you would be kind enough to turn your microphone off so that we can save questions until the very end, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, thank you for coming this evening. I look forward to a wonderful school year. It is my job and my priority to do the best that I possibly can with your child every day. I love teaching, especially first graders. We always have so much fun together. And I'm just looking forward to partnering with you this year. And regardless of whether we're in remote learning or in person learning or a combination, I will definitely do whatever I can in my power and give my 100% to your family and your child. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And please jot down any questions you might have. And if I don't have the answer to it, I can always reach out to others and find the answer. The first slide here that we're going to go over is just the table of contents of this presentation. The first thing that we're going to talk about is literacy in Dublin City Schools. And I'll give you an overview of our reading workshop, our writing workshop, and our word study instruction that we use. In math, I will be going over what math workshop looks like for a student in first grade. And then lastly, I'll just be going over our orientation days and what school will look like once those orientation phases start next week and kind of what we'll be doing during those times. So Dublin City Schools uses a workshop framework, and we use this for reading, we use it for writing, and we also use it for math. And the first step of the workshop framework is that we have a focused mini lesson. And during this time, the students are all together. It's a whole group instruction. It's an activity. It can be that we're teaching a concept, a skill, a strategy. So it's really a focused lesson. The next part of the workshop framework is when students are going to be putting what they learned into practice, and that's the independent work part. Sometimes students are working independently. Sometimes students can be working in small groups with peers or small groups with a teacher, or sometimes students could be working in a small group with a teacher and then also one-on-one with a teacher. So it just looks very different from academic area to the student's need. In the end, the last portion of the workshop model is when we all get together as a whole group again, and we share and we reflect and we talk and we think and we communicate how we think things went. And we also celebrate too. So you can see that we start with our students all together, and then we break off, and it's going to look different for each group of students and also each classroom. And then we come back together at the very end and share and reflect. Reading workshop during first grade, our goal is really to get your child to be able to see themselves as a reader. And we will be doing this by immersing your child into very diverse books that are focused on growing readers with their accuracy, their fluency, and their comprehension. So we want students to leave first grade confident and have really good self-esteem about themselves as readers. Many times our students come in at the beginning of the year and they'll view themselves as not a very good reader. And that's okay because they are just coming from kindergarten and they're not expected, to be wonderful readers. But we will get there. And that's our goal for the end of the year, is for them to be able to see themselves as readers and writers. I'm going to go over accuracy just because accuracy, fluency, and comprehension are really three of the key areas of reading that we will be focusing on. And your child's accuracy is how they read. So are they reading the words correctly? Can they recognize them quickly? Okay. Fluency is when students are focusing on, again, the accuracy part, the speed. We don't want them to be reading too fast or too slow. We also want them to sound like readers. And we also want them to be taking on the role of the characters that they're reading in the books. And the last part is the comprehension piece. And in order for students to understand what they're reading, the accuracy and the fluency have to be intact. So that comprehension piece is their understanding of what they read. So being able to answer questions about what they read, being able to have a conversation about what they read, and then also eventually students will get to the point where they're able to write about what they read. So those are the three areas that we'll really focus on in first grade. Many parents will ask us what they can do at home to support what we're doing in the classroom. Well, there are four things here that we have. And the first one is just having your kids bring the books home that we're going to be giving them and reading with them. And I will just kind of throw in there that these first couple weeks, the orientation phase, we're going to be getting students back into the building. And we're not going to want to be sending a ton of things home with them right away. We just want them to get back into the routine and get acclimated to school again. And as teachers, we want to get to know your students. And it's important that we know what kind of books your child might like to read. And it's also important for us to know what strengths and needs they have so that we can send the right kind of books home with them. So don't look for any books in the next couple of weeks, but they will be coming home. You will get an email from me kind of explaining the books and then also the baggie that they'll come in. So just look for more information about that. And please reach out if you have any questions about those books when they start to come home. There will be some books that will be easy. And that's good because we want kids to practice repeated text and build up their fluency and their recognition of words. And then there will be some books that they'll have to use some strategies on. And so we want a good mix of books in that reading bag. The second thing that you can do is just to encourage your child to read the books to you. It doesn't have to be right after school. We know that first graders are tired. They're not used to being at school all day. So it can be whenever it's convenient for yourself and your child and your household. So whenever that happens is great. I will say the books, the baggies need to come back to school every day. That's super important so that students can switch out their books and so that they can also have something that is familiar to them during reading workshop. And the third thing you can do is just listen and encourage your child when they get stuck on words to try to problem solve and encourage them to use strategies that we have learned at school. And lastly, just talking to them about the stories that they were reading. So just ask them some questions, and you could talk about their favorite part, their favorite character. What are some things that happened at the beginning of the book, the middle of the book, the end of the book? Just really getting to know your child as a reader and just talking to them about the books that they're reading. I hope those tips will help you support your child at home. And if you have any questions about how you can support them in any other way, please let me know and I will help you. Writing workshop has the same model, that workshop model that I talked about for reading. But in first grade, your child will be focusing on 3 different kinds of writing. So your child will be writing stories about things that have happened to them, and those are called narrative stories. And those are stories about play dates, birthday parties, celebrations, playing out in the snow, going to the pumpkin patch, going to the pool, just anything that your child, has experienced in their life. And the second kind of writing that your child will do is opinion writing, and that's just sharing their opinion. So, for example, last year, my students wrote about what their favorite related arts was. So they were able to pick one and then also give 3 reasons why that was their favorite. So that's just one example. And the third type of writing that your child will participate in is called informational writing, which is also known as research. And your child will get the opportunity to research topics of interest to them. And then also, we will do some research with living animals. In the past, we've done zoo animals. So we will see what this year brings, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do research with zoo animals again. So, some things that you can do at home to help your child with the writing process is just making sure that when they are writing, that they can read their work and you can read their work. Um, so, just encouraging them to use their best handwriting, having them start letters where they're supposed to, and thinking about whether that letter is tall, small, or falling. And if you need to model that for them, that could be helpful as well. The second thing that we'll be working on in first grade is also conventions. Now, conventions are capital letters and punctuation marks, but I want parents to obviously understand that this is not something that will happen overnight or even the first couple months of first grade. It's going to be a process, and it will take all through first grade, and some students might have it intact by then, and some students might need to continue to grow in second grade, and that is okay because we're all different. But we will be working on it this year. The third thing that you can do is encourage your child to add more detail to their work. So, asking them questions to get them thinking about how else they can add more content or more information to their stories or their writing to make it more interesting. And the last thing is just make it fun. We want kids to have fun and enjoy writing. So let your student or your child write about whatever they want to, while also, encouraging them to do neat handwriting and use capital letters and punctuation marks and incorporate some detail as well. So those are 4 ways that you can support your child at home. Again, if you have any questions about anything else you want to do at home to support your child, please reach out. I'm here to help. The next area that we're going to focus on is word study. And over here, you're going to see this is our elementary word study program. And in first grade, we do a lot of learning about just basic reading skills. And that's where the phonological awareness comes in and the phonics. And we have a strong emphasis in first grade of word recognition, specifically with high frequency sight words. And those are words that you can't sound out always, and students need to know those quickly. So, being able to recognize high frequency sight words and also being able to recognize words by sounding them out. And then also being able to use visual strategies. So looking at a word and knowing that that doesn't look right or that isn't the way the word was spelled when I saw it in a story. And then the last area of focus is vocabulary and word structure. Again, we want students to be exposed to rich vocabulary and rich words so that they continue to learn and grow as well. So, some parents might ask, what are high frequency words? Those are words that need to be known automatically. Um, we'll be sending words home that your child can practice. And those are just words that they just need to be automatically known. Those are words that are, like I said before on the last slide, are not always able to be sounded out. Okay. And these are the kind of words that appear frequently in text that we read. So words like and, in, the, said. We see those a lot in the books that we read, the newspapers, the magazines. And these oftentimes do not follow a typical spelling pattern, and that's why it's hard for students to sound them out. And so we just need to know them automatically. And it's important also to know that these words, 100 of these words make up 50% of the words that we read when we are reading. So here are some things that you can do with your child at home to support their word study. and they're learning. The first thing is just your child will be bringing home sight words, and it's not important that they learn them all in one day. Just pick out a few and practice them in isolation, meaning by themselves, and then practice them within the text as well. So you can point out when you see the word and when you see the word the in a story and say, oh, that's a word that we're practicing in your sight words. So just making those connections with your child. The second one is just practicing writing the sight words. Um, and this is important just to make it fun. You can use Play Doh, you can use chalk, you can use shaving cream, whiteboards, kinetic sand, paint, whatever you have at home. Just make it fun and engaging for your child. The other one is if I know. So pointing out things that you notice or patterns in words. So one way that we think about this is if I know how to spell hat, then I know how to spell sat. So both of those words have at inside of them. So if you can make those connections between words, your child, if you help them make those connections, your child will start to notice patterns in words when they're reading, and it will help them sound out words. And the last one is going along with that vocabulary piece, where we want students to be a word collector and learn and notice new words that are important in a story, so that we are providing them with that rich vocabulary experience. Those are just some ideas that I have for you. If you have any other questions or you need more suggestions, please reach out to me. Math workshop is very similar to our literacy workshop models. We always start out as a whole group, then we go off and do our work. It can be together with individuals, it can be a small group, it can be with a teacher. It looks very different from classroom to classroom depending on the students. We will be building on conceptual understanding of mathematical skills. And one thing I also want to note is that Dublin City Schools did adopt a primary resource from the Math Learning Center called Bridges in Mathematics. And we had the pleasure of using it last year. And my students in first grade last year really enjoyed this. It was very hands-on. And I felt like they had a good understanding of mathematical processes and understanding of how numbers work and number sense. So I'm excited to use this program again this year. And then also, hopefully we'll get to see how students progress during the whole academic school year, because we used it till March, but we weren't in the buildings after that to really implement it 100%. So I'm looking forward to that. Some things you can do at home to support your child with math is counting. This week in our virtual learning, we've just been noticing math around us in our environment, in the community, and just finding things that your child can count. They can count by ones, they can count by twos, they can count by fives, they can count by tens. We'll be doing a lot of skip counting this year, so just counting is a great practice that you can do. Practicing math facts, your child will be learning about addition and subtraction this year, and we want them to know and understand math facts with addition and subtraction all the way up to 10. The third way you can help your child at home is just to solve problems. So just giving them some real life problems to solve. And it is always helpful sometimes to use food because that's a great motivator. And the last thing that I want to talk just briefly about is our ST Math. ST Math is a resource that all students in Dublin will have access to this school year. And it is a technology program that helps your child develop problem solving skills. So your child will be getting a login, a username, and a login very soon. We just got some information today about that. And I will be updating your child's computer technology login information form so that it's all in one place. And so I will be sending that to parents and children your guys' email addresses. So your child will get an email and you will get an email with those logins, and you can start using that resource as soon as you possibly want to. Okay, so we're done talking about our curriculum per se for Dublin City Schools, and now we're going to move into the hybrid model. So our school day is going to be broken up into an AM over here. So if your child has the last name that starts with an A through K, then your child will be attending the AM portion of our hybrid model. And those hours are 8:30 to 11:30. And then after the AM students leave, we will, the teachers and the staff will be cleaning and disinfecting. We will also eat our lunch and then plan with our team of teachers that we work directly with. And that's from 11:30 until 1. We just really want to have a safe environment for the afternoon kids and the morning students. And then the afternoon, if your child's name ends with an L, begins with an L or a Z, they will be in school in the afternoon or the PM from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So that is the layout of our school day, the hybrid model. And here is the schedule for the first week, and these are the orientation days. So students will not attend every day, okay? They will attend every other day. So on Monday is Labor Day, and we do not have any school on Labor Day. On Tuesday and on Thursday, students whose last names begin with A through D will come in the AM on Tuesday and the AM on Thursday. Students whose last names begin with L through R will come in the PM on Tuesday and the PM on Thursday. And then if we look here on Wednesday and Friday, if your child's last name begins with an E through a K, they will come in the AM on Wednesday and the AM on Friday. If your child's last name begins with an S through a Z, they'll come on Wednesday afternoon in the PM and again on Friday in the PM. So that is week 1. This is hybrid week 2. So if you look here on Monday and Wednesday, if your child's last name begins with A through D, they will come on Monday morning and also again on Wednesday morning. If your child's last name begins with L through R, they will come in the afternoon in the PM on Monday and again on Wednesday. And coming to the next group, we have Tuesday and Thursday. So if your child's last name begins with an E through a K, they will come in the AM on Tuesday, in the AM on Thursday. If your child's last name begins with an S through a Z, they'll come Tuesday in the PM and Thursday in the PM. Notice that this over here is blank for Friday, September 18th. We do have school that day. We are just waiting on board approval for the rest of our schedule. So we're just waiting on them to approve what the schedule will look like going forward. You have probably heard these words as of recently, synchronous versus asynchronous. And I'm just going to clearly define those so that we all know what these mean. Synchronous is just while your student or your child is at school, our focus will be on literacy and math workshops. So when your child is with us, this is what they will be learning about. We'll be working on reading and writing and math. And then when they are not at school and they're at home, they will be focusing on more independent practice. So things that we have introduced to them in the classroom that they can practice at home, or even things that they learned in kindergarten that we want them just to brush up on since we haven't been in school since March. And then we will also have our related arts instruction that will be virtual. So they will have the opportunity to participate in those activities as well when they are at home. So some of you might be wondering, what does learning look like on days when my student is not at school? So when your child is in that orientation model and they're only coming to school for 2 days, we as teachers are going to be providing weekly choice boards with various ideas for your student to work on independently. The activities on these choice boards will build upon things that we're learning and things that are taking place in our classroom. Google Classroom is important. We have been posting as teachers our virtual classrooms on there, some announcements, just updating information so that everybody is on the same page. So this is really an important place for you to go to check on updates, classroom news, asynchronous learning choices can also be found here. So make sure that you check this on a regular basis because things do change frequently. I will also note that your child's related arts teachers, they will have one Google Classroom so that your child can go to and um, be able to access the related arts activities that those teachers are providing. So their Google Classroom is going to be separate from the classroom teachers. I want to thank you all for coming. Note here that my email address is here. I'm always available for an email. If we want to set up a meeting, I'm always here to help in any way possible. And then the last thing here is just a link to our classroom website, and you can get information there and get updates, announcements, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'm going to come on live so that I can answer any questions that you might have.